With the final voter registration weekend continuing tomorrow, we now turn our attention to how recent corruption scandals, service delivery failures and the growing institutional distrust are shaping South Africans' confidence in the power of their vote to change the country's direction and improve service delivery. For more on this, we're joined by the governance and elections expert at the University of Pretoria, Dr. Tendai Mbanje. Dr. Mbanje, very good evening to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Now, Dr. Mbanje, voter registration is happening against a backdrop of load shedding, water crises and near-daily corruption revelations. Are the South Africans still registering because they believe voting changes anything, or largely out of habit and civic duty?
Recent statistics show that we have slightly over 1 million young voters. I think there is appetite to vote. I think the IEC has done some good work. And also there's a realization that not voting is voting. Although 47% of South Africans don't believe in voting from the recent statistics that various think tanks have been showing, I think young people are realizing that there is power in actually making a voice in the space. So amid all these things, I think there is an appetite for especially among young people, to say actually voting could be a way we can influence change. Although there has been distrust for years where young people vote and nothing changes, when they vote for the leaders of their choice, and there is nothing that happens. And in fact, things have become worse. So there is some kind of appetite for voting as a way to address the current challenges here.
Well, I suppose the jury is still out on that, because you're saying that there is an appetite for voting, especially amongst the younger voters or the younger population, but we've seen declining voter turnout and registration among younger South Africans in particular. Is this perhaps voter apathy, or is it a rational response to watching votes fail to translate into accountability?
Yes, I mean, in the past there's been declining voter apathy among young South Africans. But I think what the GNU government has done is that young people are actually realizing that I think we need to project our voices in the space. That's why we see young voters. There's a significant appetite among first-time voters, if I may call them, from the statistics that I was looking at. I think it's signifying that we're a shift from the past trends to say the young people have been aloof, and it's now time that they're realizing that with the current setup, it's something that they project could go on in the future. So they need to be involved, yes.
All right. And is South Africa maybe dealing with the crisis of individual leaders being corrupt, or has corruption become so structurally embedded in how our own institutions operate? And does that distinction change what reform should look like?
I mean, corruption, especially in the context of South Africa, is something that has been happening for decades.
Yes.
It has become systemic, like you say. It's not going to change overnight. It's going to be progressive in terms of how this the system will change, or to break away from a system, a system that has been brewing and maturing over the decades. It's not easy. So I think voting is also becoming one of the mechanisms that is becoming clear that when multiple voices, like in the context of GNU government, we have multiple voices in the space, and it strengthens accountability. I think we have seen that the GNU government has done a lot of good work. We see strengthening of accountability even up to the executive. We see also strengthening of government institutions, including the systemic issues of corruption within the police, the Home Affairs, and so forth. So we see that when people govern together, there is more to benefit than when a political party governs in isolation. There could be less accountability. Yeah.
Dr. Mbanje, if you had to name the single reform most likely to convince a skeptical voter that their ballot matters, what would it be, and why hasn't it happened yet?
I think a single reform is, for me, could be diverting much of the funds to create employment for young people. It has not happened because we have seen that many individuals, especially from the revelations that you're speaking about corruption, that there has been a lot of revelation that there's been money that has been channeled towards individuals, or money that has been lost through corruption. That money could actually be used if reforms happen in terms of strengthening governance institutions, so that, if, for example, in terms of tenders and so forth are done properly and the jobs are done, you realize that that money could actually be channeled towards creating opportunities for many young people and citizens in general.
I'm actually glad that you made that point, because there's been long-standing debate about electoral reform, particularly proportional representation versus constituency-based accountability. So would the voters actually feel more empowered if they could remove an individual non-performing representative rather than voting for a party list?
Well, certainly. I think voting for a political party is very problematic, because political parties prioritize their self-interest, particularly at a time in South Africa where certain political parties are facing existential they're facing existential threats of their existence, where they might not be there anymore if they don't change their ways of politicking. So you see that when individual citizens start to vote for individuals of their choice, they strengthen the accountability. They are not getting a candidate imposed to them by a political party. And there is also more that candidates that are voted to do, so that when they come back to the citizens to say, I'm seeking the mandate, give me the mandate again to represent you, the citizens, they can express confidence, and also they can reject not to express confidence in a political party.
All right, Dr. Mbanje, and I suppose that the conversation around the recall mechanisms or performance-based accountability, especially for the local councillors, should be amplified as we have this conversation. Great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your analysis.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. Well, that was governance and elections expert at the University of Pretoria, Dr. Tendai Mbanje, helping us reflect on this weekend's voter registration, especially how the recent corruption scandals, the service delivery failures and the growing institutional distrust are actually shaping South Africans' confidence in the power of their vote.